Hey y'all. Well, I can't seem to get out of the kitchen today. Earlier today, I made some hot garlic dill pickles. My video's on there. And when I had got the pickles out of the refrigerator, there was a bunch of yellow squash in the drawer there in the refrigerator. It's like, well, I need to do something, and I've already breaded, I don't know, 7 or 8 quarts are in the freezer of breaded squash, zucchini and yellow squash. So I had a lot of yellow squash in there. So I just decided I'm going to make a cornbread squash dressing to put in the freezer. So what I did was I took 1/4 cup of butter and I put it in a big skillet, and I diced up 1/2 cup of onion, about 1/4 cup of celery. I usually add a little more celery because I like that. About 1/4 cup of a bell pepper. I just used one of the peppers from my garden. You could, if you wanted poblano, you could do, poblano. I used a gypsy hybrid, which is more of a salad pepper, but it's a sweet pepper is what you want to use, is something that's not too hot. And it's called for a tablespoon of minced garlic. I think that is like, oh goodness, four cloves maybe. I thought that's a little much garlic. So I added about 1/2 tablespoon of minced up garlic. And I minced up my squash. It was about 4.5 to 5 cups of minced up yellow squash. And I sauteed the onion and the bell pepper and the celery in the butter until it was, starting to get soft. And I added the garlic and sauteed that about another minute. And then I added the squash to the pan and sauteed the squash, about 5 minutes. You don't want it to get mushy, just kind of crisp, tender. Like this recipe, because you don't have to boil the squash in a separate container like a lot of squash casseroles. Everything's done in one skillet. And so now that that's done, since I'm wanting to freeze this, I put it in a bowl because I'm going to be adding eggs to this. So I'm going to be adding eggs to this. So I have it in a bowl, and I added a can of cream of chicken soup, and mix that in. If you make your own cream of chicken soup, that'll work. I added 2 cups of crumbled cornbread that I had made. It does have sugar in it, so this will have some sweetness to it. And a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of a Cajun seasoning. I'm using Raging Cajun, it's a mild one. And then about 1/4 teaspoon of fresh ground cracked pepper. Well, that's about right. And I'm just going to fold this all together. And I've got 2 eggs that I've already have beaten. And I didn't want the eggs to cook. Since I froze this, I'm going to freeze this. So I'm just going to mix that all together. Already looks yummy. And if you were going to bake this, you'd have your oven set at 350. You would be doing this in the skillet. You wouldn't have to dirty up a bowl. And okay, so there's not any heat in that at all. It's just kind of lukewarm. And I'm going to add my 2 beaten eggs. One of those was a duck egg. I had 1 duck egg I needed to get rid of, and that will just add lots more goodness. Now this says to use an 11 by 7 baking dish that you've already greased. Well, I'm going to freeze this, so I'm going to use like an 8 by 8 disposable pan. And I will, after I put it in there, I will put a piece of parchment paper on top and then foil. I don't like foil to touch my food. It can react with certain foods. So that looks like it's all nice and combined. And I have already buttered my pan here. It's an 8x8. If this might overfill it, I've got another little pan set to the side there. I got a phone call coming in. Well, I'm going to finally get through this video. So I had a phone call come in from an electrician. So I'm going to put this in this pan. And it looks like this is probably about the perfect size for this casserole. You know, I like to put things in the freezer because, you know, things happen and it just makes life a little easier sometimes to already have something in the freezer, or someone calls that needs, you know, something's happened with the people we go to church with and we need a meal put together. And if you've already got some things in the freezer to just go ahead and cook, especially when you work full-time like I do during the school year. During the summer it's a little different. All right, so this will go to the freezer, but if you were gonna go ahead and bake it, and see, you could use an 8x8 there. You would go ahead and stick it in a 350-degree oven, and like I said, it about, you know, 55 to 60 minutes until it's, you know, browned on top. You can kind of, you know, if it's still jiggly, or if you press on the center and it bounces back, then it's probably done. So you just kind of have to, you know, maybe dip into the center to see how you like it. Some people like their squash dressing a little runny or juicy or moist, and some people like it more dry. So it's a new recipe. It just looked good, and I thought I'd give it a try. So we'll let you know how it goes. If you make one, let me know how it goes. Hope you'll have a good rest of your day. Bye, y'all.